We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ukraine and Russia to hold separate talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Separate meetings to be held at the same time as diplomatic push to seek ceasefire gains momentum. Trump signs order aimed at shutting down the Department of Education. Also signs order to boost critical mineral production, says rare earths deal will Ukraine soon. Trump demands courts stop blocking his agenda after a judge suggested government ignored order to block deportations. Judge gives Justice Department until Tuesday to explain its actions. The lower house of Indian Parliament to pass the Union Budget 2025-26 under the guillotine procedure. Ruling party issues whip to its members to be present in the House. Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry becomes first woman and an African to be elected president of the International Olympic Committee. And on to the details now. Russia and Ukraine will hold separate talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, during a press conference in Norway, said on Thursday that Ukrainian and US officials would meet in Saudi on Monday to make progress on a proposed halt in Russian and Ukrainian strikes on energy facilities.
At the next meeting, which will be held on Monday in Saudi Arabia, our technical teams will be there. As I understand it, the structure is that there will be a meeting between Ukraine and America, and then, as the American partner said, shuttle diplomacy, followed by America and Russia. Or it will be parallel meetings in one country on one topic.
Well, Zelensky's announcement came shortly after the Kremlin confirmed that Russian officials would also hold talks with the United States in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the delegations are due to discuss initiatives that Putin and Trump spoke about regarding the Black Sea.
You remember that we had quite a rich experience in implementing the Black Sea initiative. We fulfilled all the conditions then, but the conditions in relation to us were never fulfilled. Therefore, of course, all this, as they say, on the shore will have to be discussed in details, and also the aspects related to the Ukrainian settlement, which the parties consider necessary to discuss.
Well, Zelensky has further stated that all nuclear power plants in Ukraine belong to the people of Ukraine, following comments by former US President suggesting that the United States could own and operate the country's nuclear facilities.
All nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. They are state-owned nuclear power plants. We do not have private property, energy, nuclear power in Ukraine. We have thermal generation. There is green energy. There is private partnership. There is completely private energy. This is absolutely clear and correct. But all nuclear power belongs to the state of Ukraine.
And European Union leaders have once again voiced their support to Ukraine, but did not immediately endorse a call by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to approve a package of at least €5 billion for artillery purchases. EU leaders met in Brussels on Thursday and discussed the Commission's defence proposals, which include a call for European countries to pool resources on joint military projects and buy more European arms. The bloc's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, called on leaders to match words of support for Kyiv with deeds, while after the summit, European Council President Antonio Costa said he believed member states will increase pledges of support to Ukraine.
We decided in the conclusions to make the ramp up during the next 5 years in our own capabilities, but also to support Ukraine. All these instruments, the SAVE, more fiscal space, flexibilities on the use of cohesion funds, all of these give room to the member states to increase their support to Ukraine. Before this package, we have already a pledge of 15 billion euros from different member states.
While addressing the EU summit by video, Zelensky urged EU allies to approve a package of at least €5 billion for artillery purchases for Ukraine and called on continued pressure on Russia.
We need funds for artillery shells and would really appreciate Europe's support with at least €5 billion as soon as possible. Investments in weapons production are needed both in Ukraine and in your countries. Europe needs technological independence, including in weapons manufacturing. Everything necessary to defend the continent should be produced here in Europe.
While leaders of the coalition backing Ukraine would meet again next week, hoping to finalize plans to secure a potential truce in the war with Russia. French President Macron's announcement on Thursday came after latest discussions of military top brass from Coalition of the Willing in London. Macron said the meeting next Thursday will be a chance to fine-tune work on ensuring any truce is durable. And British leader Keir Starmer said that plans for allied countries to safeguard a potential Ukraine ceasefire were coming together after senior military planners from nations interested in his so-called Coalition of the Willing met in the UK. Some 25 to 30 military leaders from countries keen to help secure any agreement to end fighting in Ukraine gathered at a military base near London. Starmer said a secure and sovereign Ukraine will need security arrangements in place to ensure that if there's a deal, it is a defended deal.
It is vitally important that we do that work because we know one thing for certain, which is a deal without anything behind it is something that Putin will breach. We know that because it's happened before, and I'm absolutely clear in my mind it will happen again. Therefore, what you're doing here today is vitally important to peace and security across Europe, and for our NATO allies, and of course, crucially, for the United Kingdom.
Well, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky meets Norwegian Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess meet married during a visit to Norway. Zelensky is in the Scandinavian country for an official visit following a trip to Finland amid intensive diplomatic efforts to end the conflict with Russia. Norway is a supporter of Ukraine. On March 6th, the government said it would more than double its financial support to Kyiv this year of $8.03 billion. Norway is the only European nation that can finance increased support to Ukraine from its own coffers rather than from debt, as it is home to the world's largest sovereign wealth fund with assets of $1.8 trillion. And U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday invoked emergency powers to boost domestic production of critical minerals. The move is the latest by Trump to increase U.S. energy and mineral production and comes amid an escalating trade conflict with China, Canada and other large mineral producers that supply American manufacturers. While Trump signed an executive order that taps the Cold War-era Defense Production Act as part of an effort to providing financing, loans and other investment support to domestically process a range of critical minerals. Lithium, nickel and other critical minerals are used in many electronics, and demand is expected to surge in the coming years for production of electric vehicle batteries. While China is the world's largest producer or processor of many critical minerals, late last year, Beijing imposed an outright ban on exports of gallium, germanium and antimony to the United States, causing U.S. manufacturers to scramble for alternative supplies of those niche but vital materials. The order also encourages faster permitting for mining and processing projects and a directive for the Interior Department to prioritize mineral production on federal land. Well, President Donald Trump declared Thursday that the United States would soon sign a deal with Ukraine for access to its rare earth minerals. Trump has been pressurizing President Volodymyr Zelensky to sign economic deals to compensate the United States for its support in its conflict with Russia.
I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world, but in particular Ukraine. We're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia, and one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth.
And moving on now, the Israeli government has dismissed Israel's domestic intelligence agency Shin Bet's chief Ronen Bar on Friday. Netanyahu last week cited an ongoing lack of trust as the reason for moving to sack Ronen Bar, who was appointed in October 2021 for a 5-year term. Bar, meant to end his tenure only next year, was appointed by the previous Israeli government that briefly forced Netanyahu from power between June 2021 and December 2022. His relations with Netanyahu were strained even before the unprecedented Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, notably over proposed judicial reforms that had split the country. Bar had already hinted that he would resign before the end of his term, taking responsibility for his agency's failure to prevent the attack. And meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council had an open meeting on Gaza as Israel resumed its bombing campaign and ground operations in the enclave. Israeli aircraft on Thursday dropped leaflets on residential neighborhoods, ordering people out of Beit Lahia and Beit Hanan towns in the north, the Shejia district in Gaza City, and towns on the eastern outskirts of Khan Younis in the south. Well, then late on Thursday, Israel's military said it had begun ground operations in the Shabora district of Gaza's southernmost city, Rafah, which abuts the Egyptian border. Also, a day after sending tanks into central Gaza, the Israeli military said on Thursday it had also begun conducting ground operations in the north of the densely populated enclave along the coastal route in Beit Lahia. Well, Hamas too fired a barrage of rockets towards Tel Aviv in central Israel. Hamas, which had not retaliated during the first 48 hours of the renewed Israeli attack, said its fighters fired rockets into Israel. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump demanded on Thursday that courts stop blocking his agenda as he was once again at odds with the judiciary. The U.S. president seems to be edging closer to a constitutional showdown after a judge suggested the administration ignored an order to block summary deputations. Trump has demanded that the Supreme Court intervene. He wrote on a social media platform warning that as Chief Justice of Supreme Court doesn't fix the situation, nation is in serious trouble. A federal judge in a strongly worded order gave the Justice Department until Tuesday to explain why it went ahead with flights to prison in El Salvador of Venezuelan migrants, some of whom say they committed no crime and were targeted only for their tattoos. And a flight carrying around 311 Venezuelan nationals returned from Mexico landed in Caracas, bringing the total of migrants recently returned to 920. Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello claimed the flight was a result of direct agreement with Mexico despite U.S. accusations of misinformation. Cabello also criticized the U.S. for deporting over 200 members of the Venezuelan Tren Aragua gang to El Salvador, calling it a kidnapping and arguing they should be tried in the U.S. if they committed crimes there. And Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino dismissed reports that the U.S. military is exploring options for U.S. control of the Panama Canal, calling them baseless as they came from unnamed sources. Also, the reports followed Donald Trump's claims that the canal's tolls are too high and that China controls it, which Mulino rejected, emphasizing the canal is managed fairly and transparently. The canal is controlled by Panama's government, though a Hong Kong firm, C.K. Hutchison, operates 2 ports on it. Further, Mulino announced a forthcoming meeting with the Panama Canal Authority head to discuss major port projects and Panama's role in trans-Pacific shipping. Earlier this month, C.K. Hutchison recently agreed to sell its Panama port assets to U.S. investment firm BlackRock. And moving on, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test firing of the country's latest anti-aircraft missile system on Thursday. The test firing showed the system was highly reliable and its combat response was advantageous. Anti-aircraft missile systems, also known as surface-to-air missile system, are ground-based or sea-based weapons designed to intercept and destroy aircraft and other missiles in the air. Seoul and Washington wrapped up the latest 11-day annual joint military drills known as Freedom Shield on Thursday. They say such exercises are defensive, but Pyongyang has long demanded a halt to US-South Korea joint exercises, branding them a prelude to an invasion. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India and European Union move closer to landmark trade agreement, strengthening economic ties and collaboration. World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit Waves organizes a Young Filmmakers Challenge to provide a creative platform for emerging talent. World Down Syndrome Day today, celebrating inclusion and raising awareness for the same.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, India and the European Union are moving closer to a landmark trade agreement. With negotiations gaining momentum, both sides are looking to strengthen economic ties and expand market opportunities. The recent visit of the European Commission to New Delhi highlighted key areas of collaboration, from trade and investment to digital innovation and sustainability. Let's take a closer look.
Landmark move to strengthen economic ties, the European Commission, led by President Ursula von der Leyen, recently visited New Delhi. This unprecedented delegation underscores the deepening relationship between India and the European Union. Central to their discussions is the ambitious India-EU Free Trade Agreement, with both sides aiming to finalize negotiations by the end of this year.
Technology, investment, innovation, green growth, सिक्योरिटी, स्किलिंग और मोबिलिटी पर सहयोग का एक ब्लूप्रिंट तैयार किया गया है। हमने अपनी टीम्स को एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी बायलैटरल फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को, एफटीए को, इस वर्ष के अंत तक संपन्न करने का निर्देश दिया है।
Initiated in 2007 and resumed in 2022, this agreement seeks to enhance market access, remove trade barriers and boost bilateral trade. For India, the FTA promises enhanced access for textiles, pharmaceuticals and IT services to European markets. Conversely, the EU anticipates greater entry for its automobiles, machinery and luxury goods into India's consumer base.
EU-India trade agreement is very important for us. And I can tell you, while semiconductor is important for India, even automotive is important. EVs are important. And therefore, it just makes sense for Europe and India to partner together for R&D, for manufacturing, for supply chain diversification, and most importantly, even for market.
This collaboration is set against the backdrop of shifting global geopolitics, where both India and the EU seek to enhance their strategic autonomy and economic resilience.
For Europe, India is a pillar of certainty in an increasingly uncertain world. Together with Prime Minister Modi, we want to upgrade the strategic partnership with the largest country and democracy in the world.
As negotiations progress, The world watches closely, anticipating a landmark agreement that could redefine economic landscapes across continents. Mark Limburg reporting from The Hague, the Netherlands, for DD India.
And Commonwealth Secretary-General-elect and former Foreign Affairs Minister of Ghana, Shirley Ayorkor Botchwey, arrived in New Delhi on Thursday on a two-day visit. In the evening, she met India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, who shared India's approach to the Commonwealth, voicing the expectation that it would become more purposeful, contemporary, efficient, transparent and reflective of its members' view. Shirley Botchwey will assume office as the 7th Secretary-General of the Commonwealth on 1st April 2025. While both the Houses of Parliament continue to discuss the budgetary provisions related to various ministries, in the Lok Sabha or the lower house, apart from the question hour and 0 hour, discussions related to the Ministry of Water, Power, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare are listed for today. Besides, the pending demands for grants in relation to the union budget will be presented for voting in the House. Along with this, Appropriation Bill 3 is also listed. While in Rajya Sabha, the upper house, apart from the question hour and 0 hour, further discussion on the working of the Ministry of Home Affairs will be taken up. Besides, the Banking Laws Amendment Bill 2024 is also listed for consideration in passing. Meanwhile, the BJP has issued a 3-line whip for all its Lok Sabha MPs, asking them to be present in the Lok Sabha on Friday for the passing of the budget. Further, the Lok Sabha has announced that the Parliament will apply the guillotine in parliamentary terms. The guillotine refers to a procedure ordered by the Speaker of the lower house to pass a bill without discussion. Bills that are considered necessary for implementation but could be delayed due to opposition log jam are passed through this route. And with an objective to providing a fun and supportive platform for young filmmakers to express their creativity and originality through film, Young Filmmaker Challenge has been organized at the World Audio-Visual Entertainment Summit. Young creators in 2 categories aged between 12 to 15 and 16 to 19 years to dive into the world of filmmaking and unleash their creativity. It aims to foster innovation, storytelling skills and digital literacy among young participants through a concise 60-second film format. The challenge will promote storytelling, build confidence in children and teens by giving them the opportunity to showcase their talent on a global stage and celebrate diversity that young filmmakers bring to the screen. And Kirsty Coventry has been elected as the president of the International Olympic Committee on Thursday, securing victory in a high-stakes vote at the 144th IOC session in Costa d'Avorio, Greece. The Zimbabwean won in the first round, voting to clinch the race to succeed Thomas Bach, winning an immediate overall majority in the secret ballot. Coventry beats Sebastian Coe, Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr. and others in the election that had been expected to be a far close-run affair. As the new IOC president, Coventry will now be tasked with steering the Olympic movement into a new era, overseeing future games. She will also address key challenges such as rising costs, geopolitical tensions, and the evolving landscape of global sports governance. Well, every year on March 21st, the world comes together to celebrate the World Down Syndrome Day. This special day is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting inclusion and advocating for the rights of individuals with Down syndrome. The date 321 symbolizes the uniqueness of the triplication of the 21st chromosome, which is the genetic cause of Down syndrome. Preeti Kaur tells us more in the report ahead.
Down syndrome is a genetic condition caused by the presence of an extra copy of chromosome 21, leading to developmental and intellectual delays. It is also known as trisomy 21 because individuals with Down syndrome have 3 copies of chromosome 21 instead of the usual 2. Down syndrome was named after John Langdon Key, an English doctor who was the first person to publish an accurate description of the condition in the 1860s. Features of Down syndrome can include intellectual disability, that is typically mild to moderate, physical traits that may include a flat facial profile, upward slanting eyes, small ears, and a small neck. People with Down syndrome may have an increased risk of certain health issues like heart defects, respiratory problems, and hearing loss. March 21st marks World Down Syndrome Day. The objective of this day is to spread awareness about Down syndrome and to reduce the social stigma faced by patients. Approximately 1 in 800 children are born with Down syndrome annually in India. Screening tests to assess the likelihood of Down syndrome can be performed in early pregnancy. After birth, the syndrome may be diagnosed by experts through physical examination. In India, addressing Down syndrome involves prenatal screening, early intervention programs, and ongoing support, including specialized therapies and education, with organizations like the Down Syndrome Federation of India playing a key role. People with Down syndrome can lead fulfilling lives, and many individuals with this condition attend school, work, and participate in social and community activities. Early interventions like speech, occupational, and physical therapies can help improve development and provide quality of life. Preeti Kaur's report, DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.